What's up, everybody? A Sparrow with a Gun here from Sleepless Nights with another episode on Space Engineers. When we left off in the last episode, I kind of threw up some of these conveyor lines here. I got a little bit of a fuselage shape going on, and I had made a little bit more progress with the thruster arms. However, as you can see, I made a little bit more progress. I was kind of trying to space out because per my calculations, the width of the arm should go kind of about this bar here. So then I was kind of trying to branch out from there and see how wide that was going to be, as well as adding this top bar to give me a vertical frame. Now, the one thing that I noticed was if I wanted to keep it 1 by 1 here, as in matching up with this, and then it connects to the thruster pod, I was going to have to stop it right here, and then that would connect. It looked a little bit better for this particular pod, but in terms of the arm, I wasn't sure if I liked it or not, so I went ahead and built it up vertically to that point. And that makes it look a little bit better, but I'd have to adjust the design of the thruster pod, I think. Which may not be a terrible idea anyway, but I don't know if I'll get to it this episode or not. But what I'm thinking, and I think I've still got it in here to show you guys. Yeah. So what I'm thinking is, I've been told a couple of people, or by a couple of people, to either fill up this empty space with thrusters or tanks or both, because it's going to burn out the hydrogen fairly quickly, and I'm inclined to agree. There are a decent amount of tanks here, but there's a lot of large thrusters, so I don't see that going well. So anyways, as I was playing around with things, I have the build info tool on at the moment. I'm going to jump into spectator here for a second. So the build info tool, for those of you that don't know, shows off the, build info. And one of the most ideal things for me is the thruster damage projection right there. So what I decided to do was see how close I could put two thrusters together without them overlapping and being damaged. So that's what I kind of came up with this placement here, and it gives us a little room on the back for maybe an extra tank if we knock out some of this armor here, and stuff like that. But then I got thinking, and I was like, well, wait a minute. There's a lot I closed off up here just so there wasn't a whole bunch of empty space, and I figured it would protect the tanks a bit better. But now I'm kind of looking at it going, well, there's a lot of empty space up here. I could probably run another row of tanks on this vertical row, and the same down here, and I could even do the same over here. With the caveat of I may put some thrusters, kind of like these guys, I may put a thruster ring around this way. I'm not really sure. There's a few different ways I could do it. My thought process is maybe doing thrusters that connect from this conveyor port to this conveyor port, and the same here and the same here, but then in the corners actually putting the tanks is what I'm thinking. But then I got looking at this going, well, I could do that, but if I'm going to have to extend the pods, because I got looking at this where the armor bar for the connecting arm connects to, and there's a lot of space here where it's basically going to cut into the pod, and I'm going to lose either thruster or tank space, kind of thing, like this. I'm covering up almost 4 thrusters, or I am covering up 4 thrusters, almost more. So then I thought, well, maybe what I'll do is extend the pods on the left and right to where this thruster is where this one is. So I'm just going to take these 3 and move it out and do the same thing on this side. Now, I think what I'm going to do is then break up these top and bottom ones to where there's kind of another, where these 3 are here and those 3 are there, and maybe some scattered ones in between. But I don't know that I'm going to keep building rows like this for each one. I may stagger these because, one, it's a lot of thrusters, which means a lot of materials, but 2 is if I extend the pods forward and backward, I'm going to end up with even more. And not that more thrusters aren't a good thing when it comes to atmospheric transfer. I'm concerned about the resource and weight and other things versus how much use am I getting out of it. For example, if the thrusters can house and handle the weight now, why do I need to add more? You know, I'd just be adding more for no reason. So that's my thought process on this. I may do it off camera though, because I might have to do quite a bit of thinking and redesigning on it. But what I think I'm going to do today, or at least start on, is I'd like to actually get the functional blocks going. Because one of the things that I'm noticing, I was working on it with this arm and stuff, and I'm getting a little carried away with the form and not the function. And I need to make sure the function is there before I go any further. Now, there's some things that are cosmetic. It's like, we have a connection port here to connect up the shooting star and another one in the hangar. Other than maybe some welders, which I don't know if I want to do welders or not, because I'm not really sure how to go. I don't know them well enough to know like their ranges on them and whatnot to be able to calculate, you know, here's... Well, actually, now that I think about it, I might be able to do that with the build tool. But anyway, so I'm going to work on some function stuff today, and I don't think I'm going to do a time-lapse today. I think I'm just going to do some cuts, and we're going to do some more talkie after, and I'm going to explain my thought process. So, this has turned out to be quite a bit more involved than I originally expected, as you can tell from having to walk these stupid conveyors all the way up this curvy arm. I'm not bitter. But yeah, so a couple of things. One, before I get into some of the logistical stuff, I am going to point out, let me know in the comments what you guys think about maybe separating this into a Let's Build while we also try and do other things on the air quote Let's Play series. Because if trying to build out the function of this ship has shown me anything, it's that this is a little bit of a bigger project than I was originally intending. And there is a couple of caveats here. One being, I don't know if the ship really needed to be this big, as far as I could have done something similar in design. I mean, granted, it's a capital ship. Capital ships are involved. I get it. It's like, will it build a small capital ship? Well, that's an oxymoron. It's kind of like, you know, it's like the difference between a battleship and a destroyer. If you make a battleship that's too small, well, it's a destroyer. So, you know, I understand that capital ships are large, but I am kind of looking at it like the time I've spent. I mean, what are we on, part 4 or something of this one? So, you know, kind of not sure that this is going to get done anytime soon, and so I'm debating on possibly, you know, altering the original scope of the plan and making it more of a Let's Build. Now, the caveat to that is that I'm not entirely sure how often I'd be putting these episodes out if I did it this way, because I didn't really want to add more to my schedule at the moment, so I don't know how that would go. But let me know what you guys think. Are you getting bored of this kind of structure, or, you know, not? Because if you're not, and you don't mind it, you don't mind putting the survival stuff on hold, I don't mind either. It's not like this is really that much harder to make than the regular Let's Play stuff, so it's kind of up to you guys. But just know that if we decide to switch to a Let's Build, I don't exactly know how often I'd be putting them out. Now, with that out of the way, let's get back to what I've been working on. It actually doesn't look like that much from a distance, but there's been a lot of planning going on, and, well, running the conveyor lines has been crap, but... So, essentially, first off, I have not pressurized this room, or this hangar, because I'm still iffy on the doors. Unless I went with one of those energy door mods, where we could just place energy doors, you know. But if I stay with the vanilla style, I'm almost thinking of leaving this particular hangar non-pressurized, kind of thing. I also still have not figured out what I want to do with the nose, because I've built a whole bunch of functionality into the base fuselage back here. And it just now occurs to me I really haven't done anything with the nose. But I also haven't put engineering stuff like gyroscopes and reactors. I forgot about reactors and power. So that's another thing, is if you guys notice anything... Oh, I never finished this. If you guys notice anything as far as, you know, I have all the functionalities built in, and then you're like, no you don't, you're missing, like that. I'm missing power. I haven't done thrusters. I was focused on conveyors, but I'm missing power. How did I miss power? Power should have been in here somewhere. Not that I don't have room. And I'm also completely hands-off of the bottom section at the moment. The main reason being I want that to be autonomous. I want it to be able to do its own thing, essentially. So I'm going to essentially build smaller components like refineries and storage and stuff, hydrogen tanks, and, well, the hydrogen tanks are out there, but you get the point. So I'm doing that later. Right now I'm focused on the main. So, much like I've commented in my inspiration series, first thing we got here is an airlock. I'm going to obviously seal this up and things. And I'm also starting to get to where I like leaving a block between a vent so that I have the option of putting a catwalk or something there to kind of separate the two. And then if you go this way... Oh, wait, no, I passed it. Where'd it go? I didn't build walkways. Let's just go ahead and connect these for ease of use. This will be where the medical room will be, and I've got the vent there, the medical bay there. I'll probably put one on each side just for symmetry, not because it's necessary, but there's like 80% of this build that is not necessary. So I'm not all that concerned. And then the other thing I've been doing just for myself, that if I come back like a week later, I've been labeling stuff. Like I've got crew quarters here, got medical bay there. This is the main large hangar. You know, so I'm just labeling stuff so that if I come back, I'm like, what was this room again? And I threw a few blocks like couches and stuff to kind of remind me what's what. But it helps me lay it out, and it also helps with spacing and things. The other thing that I'm really trying to do this build, especially since I have plenty of room, probably too much room, is I'm really trying... Oh, I just had a really good idea, by the way. Sorry, I'll tell you that in a minute. I'm really trying to leave at least a block between the conveyor and whatever block I'm going to put. For example, kind of like this, where the ceiling... Let's just say this is the doorway, right? So there's a block here that I can do ceiling like this, and then have this kind of enclosed or something. Or I could do it like this, and you still got some space. So I basically have just, over time of watching the inspiration making the inspiration series and stuff, I'm kind of the mindset that I want to leave some more space between the conveyors, just in case I want to cover up the conveyor and I don't have to put like a catwalk or something over it. I can actually just put a full block because there's a full block between them. So that's something I've been testing and playing around with and trying to do. Actually, this concerns me. I don't think it would be a problem, but I want it connected anyway. Now here is an interesting one. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with this small space here in between. You know, we've got all of this stuff. Oh, this is the stairway, by the way. So this is going to be a stairway that leads up to the floor 2 of the crew quarters, as well as the rec area. I think this is... Nope, this is the mess hall. Never mind. Rec area is above that. So there's the mess hall there. And then this is going to be an elevator, I think, which is going to take us down to the lower areas, as well as up through the rest of this-ish. Something like that. That's the plan, at least. Now, as far as space, I'm not sure how I want to do this elevator, because I'm almost thinking some kind of... I was originally thinking pistons and stuff, obviously, but I'm almost wondering if it'd be easier or more efficient or oh no, easier to build like a wheel track system where it's like you put a wheel in over here and on the other side you put a railing, and then it just, you know, runs either through wheel controls or thrusters or something. I'm almost wondering if that would be easier than a piston elevator. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I'm probably not going to work on the piston type mechanics just yet, so you've got time to comment. Obviously, we've got our refineries and assemblers here. I left room so that we can do modules on every side of the assemblers, on both stacks, and on the refineries. The reason I did this, and the reason I laid it out this way, is purely cosmetic intention. Like, this is fine, but I personally find the modules a bit cooler to look at in terms of it makes things look more engineery. It's got more pipes and circuitry showing kind of thing. So I personally left them this way so that we can do that. And again, once again here, we've got the conveyors, and that's all like this. But then what I'm probably going to do is maybe have like the floor actually be up here or the block below it, something like that. And I'm kind of viewing the elevator system, like I've got the little door here and I've got this, it's obviously, I don't think it's going to need to be that big, but I'm kind of viewing the elevator system as a, there's going to be basically a hole in the ceiling up here, and there's going to be a hole in the floor, and this just comes up and stops, and once you've stopped on whatever level you want, this is now the floor, and you can kind of walk out, walk back onto it, and go up or down. That's kind of the theorem, which does beg the question of I don't think the wheel method would work going further up, but it's kind of a thought process. It may end up being stairways or, you know, ladders or something. We may not even do the elevator thing, but it's kind of the ballpark of my plan at the moment. Then we come to storage, which is another example of this ship has way too much room, in my opinion, because I put, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so we've got 20 large containers right here, and there's just room. Like, it's not all that crazy. Now back in here, I didn't get to this yet because it didn't really require conveyors. I may segment this and make a reactor room back here in case we don't have another spot for it. But originally this intention was to create internal ion thrusters and maybe hydrogen thrusters so that we didn't have to clutter up the exterior with a whole bunch of thrusters. We could just do a bunch on the interior and then have a few showing to make it look cooler, or do the whole spotlight thruster thing where it looks like big thrusters but they're not actually thrusters, something like that. And then when we get up here, again, the plan is for the elevator to come up to right about there-ish, and then we've got the officer quarters back here, and then a stairway sort of thingamabobber that I'm not really a fan of, but it works for just spitballing, and then this goes up to the bridge. Now, the only thing that I labeled down here on the lower section is the Battle Bridge CIC. Now, the reason I called it that is because, and you can see here, I've got the merge blocks set up, and we've got a connector hooked up, well, not hooked up, but aligned to hook up to where all you'd need to do, I think, now granted, I've still got it connected for building's sake, but once we disconnect those arms over there, and once we disconnect those arms, it's done. Like, this guy's basically attached, but free-floating to where if you turned off all the merge blocks and disconnected the connector, then the lower half can separate, which this is a functionality for those of you that are not familiar. It was not part of the original ship. I just saw an opportunity of there's this kind of point where everything localizes and focuses down to a point, and I was like, hey, that'd be a good spot for like a battle bridge type of thing. The other area that I didn't mention is the wreck area up here. Now, one other thing that I want to do that I think would be kind of cool is, given this shape with this kind of shallow angle, I'd kind of like to do some kind of V right here that's a glass window, and I'd like to do it right in here somewhere, where basically once you get past these conveyors, then for 2 or 3 blocks high, you've got this, probably using 2x1 windows, V that wraps around to the center point, but to the rec area, it would be this cool observation type deck. I think that would be neat. And again, then we get to the empty front, which I don't really know what to do. I do think I'm going to put a fighter hangar up in here somewhere. Maybe having the access door like here on the nose type thing and have a few small fighters that can fly out of there. I hesitate to put something like power reactor, although we could fill this whole top area with reactors and batteries and stuff for power. It's just a little bit more vulnerable than the mid-section back in here, which is safer. And it's not like, when you look at the shape of this fuselage, it's not like we don't have room to come off of like here or something and go out over here and make reactor rooms and things like that. I'm just not sure what that leaves me to do up here other than extra storage or hangars, stuff like that. I'm just not really sure. But one thing that I did think of was, because of the amount of space I've got here, what I'm almost wondering about is if from this point in the air quote let's build type thing, in that mindset, if I were to expand upon this and start actually building out each room to where it's like, okay, these rooms are the way that I want them to look now. Once I get that done, and I know how the room is going to look, and it's finished, essentially, the interior, not necessarily the exterior, I'm wondering if it would be a smart idea, with the amount of space we have, to enclose things in a heavy armor shell. That way the exterior may get banged up, and it wouldn't mean I've got to do a whole ship out of heavy armor, which would just be ridiculous. That would just be insane with the size of this ship that I'm working with here. But we still would get the added security of all of your major components, like, you know, running a line of heavy armor around, well, even the conveyors is a lot, but you know, around the core areas of the ship, we could wrap some heavy armor around them, and then even if something poked a hole in it or damaged the exterior, you know, it would still, basically all the main components could still be more secure. That's a thought that I had anyway. But one thing that I'm looking at, though, is I'm like, I've got most of the components. We do need a reactor room. We do need a power base as far as battery, stuff like that. That's something that I'll have to work on. One thing that, I got an idea. One thing we could put in this area is a retractable solar array. I like that idea. I think we're going to do that. I don't know that I'm going to get to it this episode, but I may work on designing one in my head that can, basically, we'll put hangar We'll put hangar doors on the top, like in this area. We'll put some segments of hangar doors, and I may break it up to make it easier, like maybe not one gigantic array, because as we've said before, there is an issue with the length of the heavy, or the airtight hangar doors. They don't go that far, so there is that. But if we did some smaller ones, like maybe a couple of solar panels or something, and you do like a row of what is the hangar doors? They're basically 6 blocks openings when you put them back to back, I think. So if you did something like that and then had a few, like, something, anyway, that could work. We could make like this whole area here some kind of sequenced, separated groups of solar arrays, and then when we needed power, not when you're like in combat, but when you need power, you could open all those hangar doors, and then they could expand out and unfold. And I could use a script like, what is it? I think Izzy has one for solar alignment kind of thing. I think that would be a cool idea, because then if it's in battle mode, they're not sticking out or they're not exposed on the hull on the outside. But if, because you all know me, I'm not a big fan of reactors. I don't like relying on finite fuel sources for power and stuff. I'm not even a big fan of the hydrogen thrusters. They're just a heck of a lot cheaper, and they're pretty powerful, so I end up using them. But Oh, that reminds me, we also, since we've got some room here, we also could add some hydrogen tank. Oh, we need oxygen tanks too, dummy. We're gonna be out in space. So let's add some hydrogen tanks. We also need some hydrogen and oxygen generators, I just realized. So those tanks will be fine there. We've got room back here, so let's do... I'm trying to figure out how I want to configure these the most. Let's do just a row like this. Why not? It's not exactly like this build is uber efficient. You know. Actually, I'm going to leave that port accessible. And then I'm going to go... Maybe a conveyor would be easier. Maybe some... Let's just test this out real quick. I'm not saying this is the most efficient or anything by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just kind of free building at the moment, because I didn't really remember nor anticipate that. Oh, that's good. It's just blowing air out into space. So something like that, I suppose. I don't know if I like that or not, but something to that effect. We got that, we got that. Oh, I know. We need generators. So, ooh, idea. Let's go with... oh, and I need gravity. I didn't even remember gravity. See, I'm like, I think I got everything. Nope. No, you did not. Let's do that, and then let's flip them. We'll do that. I don't know that 8 oxygen and hydrogen generators is enough for a ship this size, but I think that's what we're going to do for now. Okay, so I think that'll work. I think that covers... And again, I don't know that we really need this many oxygen things, but I could always go through and delete every 2 of them and keep everything connected and whatnot. I was just kind of free building. So there's that, so we need a gravity generator, so I need gravity room somewhere. Maybe somewhere, I feel like there was a room where I missed something. I had like a space, maybe like right in here would be a good spot for a gravity generator. So let's just go ahead and throw that down and label that so I don't forget gravity. So yeah, like I said, I do have to remind you guys that my videos come out a week early on Patreon, so if you're watching this on YouTube, I have more than likely already made the next episode, so do keep that in mind when you're doing your comments. I also highly encourage you to comment on my Discord server under the Let's Play room or whatever channel, rather than YouTube. I've been getting a lot more comments than I'm used to on YouTube for some reason, and I've been fairly busy in my personal life and stuff like that. I just have not had a chance to really sit down, read through all the comments, reply, etc. and so on, but I do try and keep up with my Discord on a pretty consistent basis. So if you really want to get my attention, really want me to see your ideas, definitely recommend Discord over YouTube comments. However, I appreciate the comments because it does help with the stupid YouTube algorithm. Speaking of that, if you're just tuning in and you haven't seen my stuff before, feel free to like, subscribe, click the bell, click the... Just click all the things. Just click all of the things, because YouTube doesn't know what it's doing and it's stupid. There's too many things for you to click on, just click them all. But anyways, so let me know what you guys think in the comments about it. Did I miss anything? I know I missed things, but I'm just saying, did I miss anything other than what I already mentioned? Like the reactor room and thrusters and batteries and solar arrays and hangars. Did I miss anything else? What do you guys think about the layout so far, and do you like the ideas that I'm throwing out there, etc. and so on? Also, the bigger one is, do you think it would be better to pause this and move back to our regular survival stuff? and move this into a Let's build, or are you totally fine and okay with continuing this as we are and you're interested? With that, we're going to wrap things up for today. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, and I will see you all next time. Peace.